Welcome back. Asa Hutchinson's first year in office, the Powerball presidential debates. I am now joined for a Talk Politics Roundtable by John Burris and Jessica DeLoach Sabin, two Talk Business and Politics contributors. Welcome. Good to have you both.
Thank you.
Let's begin with Asa Hutchinson. In the block previous to our segment here, we talked about Asa Hutchinson was in New York City this past week, talking up Arkansas in the Big Apple and on the stock exchange. It's his 1-year anniversary. Let's give Asa Hutchinson a grade. John Burris, I'll start with you.
He deserves a good grade. I think what he's done best is placing the people that he wants in charge of state agencies in the right place. That's been a pretty slow process, but it feels like a focal point, and he's been successful at it. You know, big policy decisions certainly still remaining. I don't know that there was a better way to handle it. There you just have to say incomplete, and certainly not better than a potential F if you would have tried to tackle those issues and failed too soon. Half the legislature's new every year, a lot of new members this year, new administration, wise to take your time, make those decisions. This year is going to be the year those decisions are made, and we'll be giving him a grade this time next year.
Measured twice, and we'll see how he cuts once.
That's
what about
right.
you, Jessica? What's his grade?
I'll give you a B+, my governor. I can't believe it's been a year. Yeah. That flew right by, and he had a lot of really big items on his plate. Those items ended up in task forces, and so until those task forces act, it's kind of impossible to give him a grade, and that's the kind of stuff you'd be grading him on. There were some high moments, a couple of low moments, especially as it pertained to LGBT issues and discrimination-related issues. But other than that, he had a really solid year, and I think that he did a very good job getting to know the legislature, learning how to work with the legislature, and overall, I think it's appropriate to give him a good grade.
All right, and we'll see where he goes. His popularity is pretty high right now. We'll see if he spends some political capital with his decisions that he gets to make this next year. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about some national politics, presidential politics. We've had another GOP debate this past week. The Democrats have had some debates, although it has been hard to find them. Let's begin with the GOP debates here. In this last one, most laudatory, we saw compliments for Trump, we saw compliments for Cruz, and some Rubio. Those were kind of the bigger winners of that past debate. John Burris, again, I'm coming to you first. Who is headed for the GOP nomination? I
think Cruz and Rubio are for the long haul. Trump may be more likely to be there than I previously thought. The caucus is 3 weeks away, and he's still doing well. I really don't think that his poll numbers translates into a ground game in Iowa, and I hope that the decline will be steep and rapid for him. And then moving into New Hampshire and other states where I think you'll see probably a Cruz-Rubio finale. It scares me a little bit. I think Cruz could do well in the Southern primary on SEC Day, as they call it, at the beginning of March. If he does, there's a realistic chance he could be the nominee, and I really hope that that's not the case. I hope that Marco Rubio has the ground game and runs the campaign that he needs to run to prevent that from happening.
Does it matter who the GOP nominee is when you look at the electoral map, Jessica, and you see how Obama did 4 years ago? You have to win Ohio and Florida if you're the Republican,
right,
and then you still got to win some other states.
Sure. Well, it certainly does matter. And I think that it matters very much for both sides. What John said, talking about these three names that we keep seeing, and they continue kind of maintaining those top 3 spots in the polls, I think that's how it's going to be the rest of the way out. Trump is mystifying. By the way he talks about himself, you'd think he had already served as president for a term or 2 or 3 or 4 for him. But, I don't think he does well in the SEC primaries. And I think that there is something to be said for the person who does do well, because you're generating a lot of momentum for yourself. And I would definitely say that Marco Rubio would be more competitive for the GOP. Ted Cruz is, at the end of the day, he's just too polarizing.
All right. The Democrats, they have had some debates. We have not seen near as much publicity on them. Number one, they haven't been as big. There's not as crowded of a field. Yeah. Number two, they've had them at weird times. I mean, what's up with this, Jessica? Are the Democrats trying to bury their debate? Well,
one would think, based on the times they're being held, that that's exactly what's going on. I don't know if it is or not, but what I do know is that you're not doing your party any favors by holding your debate at a time when people don't even know it's happening. I can't tell you how many times I've had to text someone when they've said, hey, what are you doing? You want to meet up? Well, I'm watching the Democratic debate. What? There's a debate tonight? Are you kidding? Yeah, there is, and it's unfortunate that people don't know what's going on. I think that the American people deserve to see the debate play out, so everyone gets their time in front of the camera to say what they need to say.
Well, it's clear why they're doing it. It's because they don't think Hillary Clinton can handle it. And I guess the question is, what makes you think she can handle it in a general election? Bernie Sanders right now is polling better in any early state as far as a head-to-head matchup than anyone expected, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, you know, hiding is a good strategy for a while, but in a lot of times it can conceal weaknesses. And I think in the case of Hillary Clinton, that's probably what it's done. She'll probably win, but it's just funny how Democrats have kind of plugged their ears and pretended as if they don't have problems, because they do. They've enjoyed talking about Republicans' problems like Donald Trump, but I'm hoping if we nominate the right person, we're going to spend the general election talking about their candidates' problems.
And I want to add to that these debates are an opportunity for candidates to be able to allow their audience to become more familiar with them, to get to know their style. If anything, Donald Trump has used that to his advantage. People have watched him grow as a politician, even though he said he hates that word. They have watched him grow. And so there's something to be said for that, because if you are going to criticize the GOP, wouldn't you want people to be able to see what those criticisms are and to hear what your reasoning is for it? No one wants to watch your debate at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Let's shift to the Powerball. We've talked about the $1.5 billion lottery that looks like some people are finally coming forward. This has been a salvation for the Arkansas Scholarship Lottery in terms of generating more ticket sales. It's going to boost revenue. John, your former state legislature, does it just buy the lottery more time, or does this have a chance to really kind of help resurrect that program?
I think if they take the opportunity to kind of start the resurgence, you know, it's a good opportunity. In and of itself, I mean, a once-in-a-lifetime Powerball, by definition, can't be the thing that turns the lottery around. But they're doing a lot of things to get it on track. The governor's made a lot of changes. The staff that's there is focused on reversing a lot of the problems that really have been there since the inception. I was in the legislature when we hired Attorney Passalay and said that would solve every problem. And he drove it into a ditch faster than anyone expected, or even thought possible. So it's a long process to correct it. The Powerball is not enough. It'll be interesting to see if sales turn back down. I saw a lady, I don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly somebody's already started a GoFundMe account to fund her, to help her get her money back, because she spent her entire income for the month buying Powerball tickets as a retirement option, and now she's broke. And a lot of people do that. You know, there was a run on the bank, so to speak, and a lot of times when it happens, sales decline in the out months. And it's important to see how a Powerball run affects it. It's good. The lottery deserves credit. But it's definitely not the foundation for continual growth sales.
There's still one ticket that hadn't come forward yet. Is it yours, Jessica?
Well, I'm not so certain that I would announce that on television if it were, but I do know who I would donate to if it is.
Who's that?
I can't tell
You could fund your own Democratic debate.
You know what? Actually, it would be a very good debate.
All right, we got time for one more question, though I'm getting a push here. The bigger, more serious topic this past week, Iran detained some U.S. Navy men. It was a big kind of 48-hour kind of news cycle. Your boy Tom Cotton got in the middle of the mix on this one. He's your guy too, isn't he, Jessica?
Right.
Was the incident handled properly, do you think?
Well, they were recovered. Both sides have agreed that there was no ill intent involved. And it was all attributed to some errors with the technology that these guys were using to navigate their way through the waters. Who knows what the real story is, but what I'm happy about is the fact that they were recovered, they weren't injured, they were in good health, and that's all anyone can ask for at the end of the day.
He's biting his tongue.
Completely agree with that. It wasn't worth a war, and that's silly for some liberals who say that, to act like that was the only alternative. But here's what I do know, and I think is what is worth pointing out. Without a doubt, if it would have been American soldiers illegally detaining Iranian soldiers, forcing them on their knees at gunpoint and coercing an apology on behalf of a nation and keeping them longer than allowed under standard protocol, liberals would be outraged. It would be nonstop headlines about American soldiers detaining Muslims and why everyone hates us and all the nonstop droning that you hear. Instead, just because it's Americans, no one really, the expectation's different. And it wasn't worth a war, but I think that distinction's worth pointing out.
All right, I'm going to let y'all duke it out when we get off the air here. Jessica, DeLoach, Sabin, John Burris, thank you both for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.